Okay, this short video, we just want to talk about where and how we get our immunity. There's two main types. There's an active form, there's a passive form. So the active form we talked about in the previous video about naturally acquiring them. So naturally means we come in contact with the bacteria or virus. Our body then mounts a defense. It stores memory. So then the next time we come in contact with that exact same bacteria or virus, we have an immune response that's very, very fast. We can also artificially acquire that in the form of vaccines. Now, vaccine, you're getting an injection of either a reduced bacteria or virus, meaning that it's greatly slowed down, so it can't reproduce very quickly, and our body can then mount a response to it and store memory for later on. Or we're given pieces of that bacteria or virus, so either proteins or a piece of the walls of those viruses or bacteria, and then our body can store memory. Our biggest thing here is with the artificially acquired active immunity is we're putting a little piece or a little bit of that virus or bacteria into the system, and then our body will then have that memory stored. Once it goes through its whole process of producing plasma cells and memory B cells, it will be able to hold on to that for the rest of your life. So a few vaccinations of a certain, let's say, like mumps or measles or polio, one or two vaccines of that early on in life, and you're set for life because your body then stores it in its memory. Okay. We also have what's called passive humoral immunity. And really what's happening is you're getting injected with just the antibodies. So your body's not producing antibodies on its own, and it's not storing it as memory. But what's happening is it's a short-term fight against something. So early on in your childhood, after you're born, you have antibodies that your mother passed on through the placenta into you, and you have that for a couple months. Same thing if you gave your baby breast milk, if you went through breastfeeding, you have antibodies, not the cells, but the antibodies that are passed inside of the baby. And then inside of the baby, those antibodies just circulate throughout, and they help you only for a short time, about 4 to 6 months, let's say. Okay. So in this passive form, we're not storing any of it for later on in life. That's why it's only a part-time immunity to certain things. Also, we have artificially acquired passive immunity. And these are more like if you've ever got cut by a piece of metal, you may have needed a tetanus shot. You need a tetanus shot every approximately 10 years. You need what we call a booster because your body can't store that as memory. So we're actually injecting the antibodies inside of the person, inside of the body, and then they roam throughout the body they can last for a long period of time, about 10 years. And then if you, let's say 8 years down the road after you got a tetanus shot, you get cut, you step on a nail, especially if it's a rusty or old piece of metal, you're definitely going to want to get a tetanus booster. Even though it hasn't been 10 years, you want to make sure that you have the antibodies floating around in your system. Same thing with rabies. If you're bit by an animal that has rabies, you go through a sequence of shots over a couple months. That doesn't stay with you forever, though. That's just a temporary injection of antibodies. Let's say 5 years down the road, you're unlucky again and you get bit by a wild animal that may have rabies. You would have to go on another session of shots because those rabies antibodies that were put inside of your system, they are gone. They're only temporary. Same thing with like a snake bite for anti-venom. Okay, it doesn't stay with you. It's just a temporary cure to that drug that's inside of you or the venom that's inside of you. Okay, so active immunity, you either come in contact with the bacteria or virus and your body stores a memory, so then its secondary response down the road is a lot faster, or we artificially are given active immunity, meaning that we're injected with a vaccine that has a dead virus or bacteria or a hampered virus or bacteria that our body can then fight off and store memory for later in life. And then you have your passive immunities, which is either acquired through the placenta or breast milk, which just antibodies are passed inside of the system. or you can have it artificially acquired where it's in the laboratory, they make these, and that gets injected just for a temporary cure. Okay, here's it in another diagram. And then lastly, we'll look here. So you have what's called live attenuated. You have inactivated. Live attenuated means that it's been decreased in functionality. It's still alive, but it really cannot reproduce and do what it's supposed to be doing. We've inoculated it to the point where it's not really going to be able to do much for itself. Okay, you have inactivated. You have purified antigens, which you can see here. You have like influenza type B, hepatitis. So that's where they're injecting just the antigen inside of your system, and your body will produce antibodies to it. The thing is, with influenza, that thing's constantly mutating. So that's why every year we have new flu shots. So you may get sick every winter from the flu. It's because the flu is able to mutate, and our body obviously doesn't have the memory to that new type of influenza.